itch, guys. I'm getting the itch. I'm getting hit with those bulking withdrawals. Withdrawals. I gotta. Not yet. Not yet. The calories. Let's not even think about it. Let's just think about the lift. So, plan for tonight: back and a little shoulders. Not a crazy amount of shoulders, just a little bit of shoulders. Kind of just for kicks. Because for me, my shoulders are a little bit overpowering to my arms, and not necessarily. Well, it kind of sucks because like if I just stand, like if I'm standing in front of the mirror, and especially if I've got like a chest pump, so my chest is extra big, my shoulders don't just like jut out like fucking shoulder pads on a '90s suit, but whenever I do like a double bicep shot, my shoulders are so much higher than my biceps are, and the sort of roundness that they give compared to my arms, tris and bis, it's overpowering. So triceps, you'd only really, or no, shoulders, at least for me, now that they're pretty developed, they're one of my stronger points. They only need a little work every so often, kind of just to keep everything moving around smoothly. But I'll throw some of those in at the end. Probably just a few supersets of rear delt, something or others, maybe flies, maybe face pulls, who's to say, and side lateral raises. So when it comes to shoulder training, I just got this question by somebody at the gym last night. Like, what's a good way to, hit my side delt? It's kind of whatever you want, man. I don't think that's the right question to ask. I think a better question would be, what sort of sets should I be doing? Like heavier weight, lighter weight, higher reps, lower reps. I think that's a bit more of a telling question because there's actually more substance to it. Because all your shoulder does, if you're hitting your side delts, if you're trying to do some side delt work, is you're just taking your shoulder from your, close to your side in the stretch position, up here in a fucking contracted position. And then you just sort of fucking keep doing that, you know? So if you have the patience, and I know it kind of sucks because when you're doing side laterals or shoulders, it just feels like you're doing the same shit over and over on repeat. But if you can get comfortable and not lose your patience and just sit there and do 10 sets of like 20 lateral raises to the, and they get a little bit tricky because failure is kind of harder to hit on them because you can always move them just a little bit. But as long as you do like 8, 10 sets of solid, hard side laterals and you can tell that your shoulders are burning and you're getting them pumped up, then that sounds fucking perfect to me, you know? So whether you want to do standing dumbbell, single arm, cable, machine, there's a couple different machines here that I'm probably going to end up using. Uh, I really do think that it only hits your shoulder in very slightly different ways. You can build a big ass set of fucking boulders just by doing dumbbell laterals, bent over dumbbell laterals, and then dumbbell shoulder press. You know, so that's sort of my position on shoulders. It's been a while since I've really had to hit them with too much of a vengeance per se. Let's say my business between me and my shoulders is basically settled at this point. Now, once my chest and my back are, my chest, my back, and my arms are big enough to the point where I need my shoulders to grow so that they can, keep up with the rest of me, then that's where I'm going to say, all right, now it's time to fucking hit these little guys harder than they're used to. Get them back in line, keep them from misfucking behaving. But is it inconceivable that if a muscle is already a bit developed on your frame, that you should back off and just work on all your weak points to bring them up? That's sort of my thoughts there. And then my plan for back, honestly, back is almost in the same boat with shoulders to the point where I'm going to take out back during this next bulking phase. Like right now, the routine has been legs, chest, back, arms, and then immediately jump back to legs and repeat the loop. So on this next bulk, and this isn't like a guarantee, I'm just kind of almost just spitballing with myself out loud, but I'm going to do legs, chest, back, arms. But instead of repeating that exact same 4 days, I'm going to make that second part, that second half of the week, a little bit different, and then do legs, chest. Now I have this spare day, which used to be my back day, and I'll replace that with some weak points. Maybe do Maybe do forearms. You know, add some forearms in there. Maybe do what else? Fuck, maybe just forearms, honestly. Still, get some forearm gains in there. But yeah, same thing. If my back's a little too big, I need everything else to catch up, then I'm going to ease back on back. But I'm not so concerned with that today, especially since I'm still dieting down. This workout isn't going to make me grow. It is just going to maintain the size that I have built up, plus give me a fucking solid ass pump while I keep dieting down for these last few days, for these last finishing touches. But in terms of what it's going to look like, you know, we know the deal. I'm talking pull downs, I'm talking machine rows, I'm talking pullovers. And you know what I just really haven't been into is bent over barbell bent over barbell rows. And that is not for no reason, you know, because for me, bent over barbell rows is pretty fucking stressful on my lower back. And I don't necessarily mean in like an injury based way. I just mean like bent over barbell rows, if you're doing them for real, that's going to be very taxing on my whole energy system as a whole. So I think I'm probably better off conserving some of that energy and spending more of it on pull downs and chest supported rows. You know, stuff where I actually get to manually target whatever muscle I'm trying to target that day. But no more chatting. Let's get this stuff unloaded and get started.
I'll explain the logic after. Let's just get this set of single arm rows started. Yeah. 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 Oh my god. Yeah. 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 Okay. So, when it comes to my back training, sometimes if I feel like I'm a little cold in the beginning, which of course, if I walk right in the gym, I'm going to be cold. But there is something to how a lot of back movements feel for me when I'm pumped versus when I'm not pumped. You know, a really awesome fucking example is I can squeeze my triceps so hard when they're unpumped. When I do like the like rope pushdowns with no tricep pump, I can squeeze and hold every fucking fiber's firing in their entirety. But when I'm pumped up, I can't get that squeeze as good. Honestly, on triceps, I can't even fully extend them. They're just kind of like, they get so swollen, they almost run into themselves in a way. So if I'm fresh, I might be more likely to try to start with a lighter weight squeezing reps to really get a good burn out of it. And then in a few sets when I'm, you know, my lats are a bit more pumped, I'm not so concerned with a perfect squeeze. I'm almost a little more concerned with getting a really solid stretch and going through the motion of the reps. Because right now, this set is pumping out my lats because I'm getting a crazy solid fucking contraction at the bottom, then a good stretch. Whereas once they start to get pumped up, it kind of turns into an upward spiral where just by doing hard reps and keeping tension in whatever muscle you're training and, you know, getting a little more volume in, that will kind of be the primary driver of at least what I would call your pump and workout stimulus. But all I'm really trying to say there in simpler terms, sometimes I like lighter squeezing sets. Sometimes I like heavier, nasty ones. And I don't think it might not require much more thought than that. But let's do another one here. A little heavier though. A little heavier though. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So, I'm not saying that you have to do it like this to have a good set, but think like lose your prejudice, lose your bias. Think about this with an open mind. Let me try to explain. Those first 5 reps were with good form, good tempo. I held them, right? Those are good reps. You would probably argue, Sam, those were good reps. But as the set progressed, I physically couldn't pull it up anymore to that fucking maximum height. So all I could manage was partial reps, which got gradually fucking lower and lower and lower in range of motion until I just had to rack it, you know? I mean, if I didn't think it was a good way to go about it, I wouldn't do it. But I think that that's a solid set because I did solid reps, good contractions, and I reached a point of getting pretty close to absolute lat, lower trap, mid back, whatever failure. That sounds like a good back day to me. If every set that I did today was with a light enough weight where I did 10 perfect reps and every rep looked the exact same and I racked it, that just doesn't appeal to me, you know? Unless I wanted to make today like a specifically volume focused day, or I might do way more sets than normal like that. I think just fucking take every set as hard as you can, go from there, see what kind of results you get. And guess what? I know what kind of results you're gonna get. Solid ones. But let's move on. No more of this. Awesome opening 2 sets though. So this machine row, it's definitely a little bit funkier than I would conventionally run into, but it serves a pretty fucking perfect next movement for me because I don't really have like, I don't know, it just doesn't, I don't usually do a lot of like, I just don't do a lot of lat focused days, mid back traps focused days. When I think hitting back, I think of just hitting the whole thing at once, you know? Now, there are caveats to that. If your lats are fucking huge and wide, but your traps are a little bit slacking, then yeah, you know, maybe take a back day where it's more so upper back rowing type actions. But for me, since my back is pretty evenly developed all across, I've always kind of liked just doing all of back at once. And even if you do like a back day where you're focusing on your lats and pull down movements and a more shrug upper back rowing based day, I think you're going to get an even workload throughout the week anyway. You know, if you got 2 guys, both of them hit back twice a week. One guy does his whole back and then he does his whole back again. If the other guy has a lat specific day where he hits his lat specific with doubled volume, then he has a mid back trap specific day, the volume for each part of the back ends up balancing out, you know? So look at your own situation and see where you fall. But those low rows were very lat focused. I felt no traps. It was pretty much all lats. Because if you zoom in and fucking like isolate my upper arm compared to my torso, all that was happening in those like this movement, all that is, it may as well be a pullover, you know, because I'm just doing this action, all fucking lats. So here, this is kind of more upper back traps. And then once my back is, I mean, after 2 sets of these, my back's gonna be fully pumped. So then I get my pick of the litter on what movement I want to do to finish it off, and this won't take much. But let's throw this shit around. And I'm really focusing on my traps. A little tricky to get my straps on. There we go. Okay. Let's take a few seconds. Make this a rest pause set. Not a bad intensifier. You literally just do a set, hit basic failure, take a few seconds, and do some extra reps. Oh my God. Very nice. Okay. I think let's do some pull downs. So I have exactly 2 goals for this set. Number 1, I want to feel my lats, fatigue them, approach failure. But number 2, which is kind of necessary to do that, is I'm going to get hyped up to shit as though this is the most intense thing I've ever done in my life. Now, whether that's true or not, that's what I'm aiming for. Yes. Yes. Oh my God. One more. Not bad. Yeah. 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 Oh my God. Take a few seconds. Make it a rest pause. Okay. I think that's enough there. Let's move on to something else to be determined. To be determined. Now, this is a back day finisher that I would recommend to every man, woman, and child in America for their back day, because my lats have been worked pretty fucking well. And honestly, they're pretty pumped right now. But it's been like 20 minutes since I did that set of, mid trap focus rows. So this might just be me being like a little bit too picky, but I feel like my traps have, they're not fully pumped, right? So in no way am I saying that if you get a pump, your workout was really good. But I will say if you had a really good workout, you definitely get a pump. It's kind of a squares are rectangles, rectangles aren't squares type situation. But in my mind, I'm very fatigued. My lats have been worked hard. My mid traps have been worked hard. Now I just want to give the finishing touches to my back pump as a whole by doing this sort of setup right here. Typically, I would like long D handles. There are only short D handles here. No biggie. But it's kind of a combination of a pull down and a row. Because since the bench is as such, I can bend forward in the stretch position and get a big lat stretch, and then lean backwards and get like a mid back kind of, rowing squeeze. So this is kind of a 2-for-1 type situation. Now, I also would not be opposed to just jumping over and do like some, a set of pull downs immediately supersetted into a pre-exhausted set of cable rows. That would honestly do the same thing. And sometimes I like that more than this, but this has never done me wrong. So let's just go hard, get ready to pose down, and then do a few more sets of shoulders, kind of just for fun. I don't really need bigger shoulders. Boy. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Oh. All right. Let's fucking post down. Back is fucking done. There we go. And now, following a reasonably short, not even reasonably short, that was what, only, well, actually, no, what am I talking about? 7 hard working sets? That's a workout, man, So I've definitely changed my ways in a sense. Back when I was a fucking beginner, dude, I wouldn't leave the gym till I did at least fucking 20. Because I reference this a lot, but it's an awesome point to make. I used to be under the impression that, like, okay, 5 movements for every body part, 5 sets for every movement. So my back day would have been 5 sets of cable rows, 5 sets of pull downs, 5 sets of everything. 25, dude. So if I could give you one piece of advice, and if you're the guy who needs to hear this and you got to perk up, try to condense and consolidate your junk volume into denser, more intense sets. I'm talking like watch some fucking Dorian Yates videos. The way that he hypes up his lifts, that's something you can get behind. And if you only recreate 20% of that intensity, that's still fucking solid, So the guy who comes into the gym and does 3 sets of dumbbell curls to absolute complete failure, be it a heavy set, a lighter squeezing set, whatever, he's going to make better gains than the guy who did 10, 12 sets of fluff junk, So a little bit of a time saver too. You don't have to spend as much time lifting. even though that's not really a positive for somebody like us. We fucking love the gym. But let's see how we're looking. Nearly the fucking final product of this dieting phase. And it's starting to show. I even got some little kind of ab sort of veins creeping out the bottom of me, which I have no problem with. That's fucking cool. But I'm not going to get so much leaner than this. I mean, all I'm doing is dieting down so that I can bulk up again, right? If I were to try to diet down another 2 weeks and get extra lean, it's like, what am I doing? You know? So whoop, there we go. Let's make sure I'm nice and centered and run through some stuff here. Oh man. All right. Now the same tooth on the fucking back. Oh. Yeah, no. Now I'm oh my goodness, I love it. There we go. Now that is a fucking lat spread that I can stand behind. Oh man. Very nice. So one thing that honestly kind of points out the fact that my back's a little bit overdeveloped compared to everything else, at least my arms and shoulders, is I almost like I love the size aspect, but I think my back looks better in posing when it's unpumped. Because you got to remember, like some muscle groups, when they're pumped up, in at least a bodybuilding context, it doesn't necessarily make them look better. Like if I were to try to do a side chest right now with shorts or something, if my hamstring was fully pumped, it wouldn't really poke out as much as it would when it's flat because it's going to be so like, tied up and dense. So the same thing kind of happens with my back. Like my front lat spread with a lat pump, honestly, I don't think it's as crazy as the one where my back is unpumped because I can open up so much more and like get extra wide. But it depends on the muscle group. I think my chest looks extra crazy when it's fully pumped because I don't care about how much I can open. It's all about just like how much mass is sitting on my chest. But let's run through a couple of other. Ooh. Yeah, so we're even starting to get a little bit of fucking tricep definition in here too. Oh man, what else is there? Not really many others. I lied. No shoulders. They're too freaking developed. Save that for the future once my arms are back up to par. But that was a rather nice birthday. Yeah, fucking 7 sets. I am totally a-okay with that, And when I say that, don't somehow take that as, okay, Sam did 7 sets in his workout, I should do 7 sets. No. Because I did not do a 7-set workout. I did as many sets as I felt necessary to fully kind of fatigue and stimulate my back to the point where I'm not only like fatigued enough that I can say like, okay, that was a good workout. I've done enough to stimulate growth. I now want to go home and rest, begin the recovery process so I can come back, do the same thing again tomorrow. But, or no, that and, I was pretty fucking pumped. Pretty fucking pumped as well. So if that would have taken me 12 sets to do, then I would have done 12 sets. If it only took me 3 sets, then I would have done 3 sets and said, back day is done. I'm going home. But the even kind of middle ground, the amount of volume which I would hear from someone, as long as those sets were really hard, legit, nasty sets, if you're floating around that 8 range, and it's a wide range, do not get me wrong, I think that's about right.
If I try to do a 20 set back day, I think I'm just, well, then I would, if I did that, the sets would just be less intense. So it would be more of kind of a volume based day. But if you're trying to do, really hard sets, I think it only takes around 8-ish to have fully stimulated whatever you're trying to hit. So that's something where you might just kind of get comfortable with it and get a little more of an idea of where you want to call your workouts and how much volume you really need based on your own gains and progress. Because that's the actual indicator that matters. Who gives a hoot what I or any other big ass lifter says if when you apply that info and those tips to your training, if it doesn't correlate to any progress. So if you go through the process of working out, where as a beginner we've all done it, you look up like workout split, you're looking up videos and you're copying other people's chest days to a T. You're like, okay, so let's do it just like they did. After you've done that for long enough, you should kind of get a little bit more of an understanding of what you're doing and why you're doing it, and how you can kind of optimize it for you. And like maybe your lats take over a lot in your rowing movements, so you don't have to do so many pull downs, and you can focus more so on the rows. It's just a lot of it really is trial and error. So that's where I say, don't be discouraged if you're not completely confident in what you're doing and how you're doing it. Because just by working out, just by coming to the gym on a consistent basis, as a beginner, especially, this is the most important, you're just going to gain training experience. And as long as you're not doing absolutely horrendous reps and your form is reasonable, then over time, you're just going to get better at training harder. You're going to get better at, manually isolating and like squeezing your bicep. And before you know it, fast forward a few months or years or however long it takes, you're going to be thinking like, okay, I want to do this hammer strength press because I know I'm going to feel it in my upper chest. Oh, and this one gets my front delt. I don't want to do that one at all. Like these real little detailed things like that. It's just the nature of the. It's just the nature of the. I don't know. What am I about to say? It's just kind of what's going to happen over time. I say this a lot. This is kind of my classic fucking hypothetical. But if I went to a go-kart track every day for an hour and a half, I think after a few months, I'm going to be pretty fucking smart and knowledgeable about go-karting, because I'm like wrapped up in it. I'm doing it a lot, and it's kind of always on my mind. And then now, this is one of the, I would say, the positives of social media and having your phone and the entire internet at not even at a hand's reach, literally already in your hand all the time, is whatever sort of hobby or interest that you may be into, it's just kind of going to be shown to you a lot. So if you're into the gym, if you're into working out, or it's getting a little too far where you just talk about working out and your phone's in the same room with you, and then your phone starts showing you workout videos. It's pretty fucking unsettling, but you're just gonna get fed intel about the gym over time. So that's where, like I said a second ago, don't get worried if you don't think you've got everything perfectly fucking found out. This is a long-term fucking, trial and error, adjusting your approach to things kind of endeavor, where that's not a bad thing. Because as a beginner, your training doesn't have to be perfect, because you're a beginner. You're extra sensitive to gains and weight training. But the longer that you lift, the harder it is to get that. Just rewind 3 seconds. The longer that you lift, right, the easier and the better that you're going to get at lifting. So the longer you do it, the better you get at it. And that's kind of countered by the longer you do it, the harder it gets to make continued gains. I made this reference a little bit ago. It's like trying to dig a hole with a shovel, right? It's like you're trying to dig to China in your backyard. All you've got's a hand shovel. As a beginner, right, when you're in the newbie gains phase, it's pretty easy to sink that thing straight into the soft soil and take out some scoops. You think you're making some solid ass fucking progress with your beginner routine, even though it's not that crazy and like extremely strenuous. It works. But as soon as you start hitting harder ground, you're gonna have to put some more energy into it. And as soon as you get into something like more gravelly kind of rock sort of layer, like that's your first real plateau, that's where you're gonna have to maybe rethink what you've been doing and say, okay, as a beginner I trained like this and it worked. Like the way that I trained as a beginner, clearly it worked. I was making steady gains, but it's just not going to work now. I need to really put some more thought and energy into this stuff. And that's actually fucking extra cool for me. Which, the main thing which I'm concerned about right now, I'm always concerned about my training. I'm always concerned about like what sets I'm doing and trying to change it up. And, like today I did some of those slower squeezing reps, as well as some nasty kind of brutish, as well as some nasty kind of brutish pull downs at the end too. And then finishing with that squeezing set of that sort of half row, half pull down. Like, I'm concerned about my training. I want to improve it over time, make sure that I'm continuing to stimulate every freaking muscle fiber on my body well enough to keep growing. That is still a constant concern. And it probably always will be. I'm always going to be thinking of new ways to try to go about this stuff and be open-minded to new ideas, whatever. But the part that I'm extra excited about this bulk for, which is a bit different from every bulking phase that I've tried to do previously, is the diet side of things, I believe, is going to be improved in a major fucking way. Now, I'm still gonna have my treats, don't get me wrong. Ice cream is not off the menu. But to go from how I've been eating beforehand, in these previous few bulking phases, to now really being much more methodical with my meal sizes and timing throughout the day, and getting into a real kind of bodybuilding eating routine, rather than just eating a huge breakfast, big ass lunch, and then like some snacks for the rest of the day, and having kind of sporadic calorie intake. Dude, I am fucking getting really excited. Because I say 280, maybe I might be guessing too low. That might be too light of a goal for this next, I guess you could call it an off season, right? Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, the sky isn't the limit. It's just a goddamn stepping stone. So I'm getting real amped up for this for these next few months. But doesn't start yet. Does not start yet. Give it a little longer. Give it just a little bit longer. So plan for tomorrow. Arms. I'm trying to hold back more yawns. I've already yawned like fucking 10 times. Yeah. Plan for arms. Well, why spoil it? Why don't we talk about arms tomorrow when I actually go and hit them? But what I will spoil for you is that I'm going to have a nice ass cardio session in the morning. I'm talking 1 hour long. It's the last week of the dieting phase. I'm not this lean forever. I better up my game with the calories, or at least with the calorie burning. So, another little, I was about to say spiritual, another little fun aspect of it too, is I know that I'm not doing double the cardio that you're doing. I'm doing an infinite amount of times more cardio than you're doing. Right? Because an hour is infinitely longer than 0 minutes. So, take with that information what you will. And honestly, I mean, think of it like a fucking challenge, I feel like cardio doesn't get the respect in relation to what training is that it deserves. Cardio gets considered to be just a chore, just a hassle, just something that's not necessary. And even worse, some people say it's bad for your fucking gains and your progress. Jesus Christ, man. It's like, I don't know if I understand it. It's like you guys have a vendetta. It's like I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about everybody who's anti-cardio. It's like you've got a vendetta against gains and progress, man. And I just can't get behind it, I'm not going to tolerate it. I'm kind of passive with you guys. Look, I'm stomping my foot down right here. You've got to be doing your cardio. Now, I'm not saying you have to immediately start doing 30 minutes of cardio every morning, but I really do think that you're going to benefit and you're going to enjoy the benefits that you get from getting your cardiovascular system trained in a much more frequent routine, so hopefully it's hard to make it any clearer than that, but that's my final statement to a solid back day and a contributive and a solid day of dieting as well. So time to go home, have some egg whites with mustard. I'm talking 0 carbs. I already ate all my carbs for the day, all 200 grams. Take my vitamins, hit the sack, wake up for tomorrow. So I'll see you then for arms.